The guy who invented Dairy Queen didn't own a restaurant. He owned a dairy. And he had one very specific, very bold theory. Ice cream should be served soft, cold, and immediately. Not frozen solid, not scooped out of a tub. Soft, like a dream. John McCullough developed soft-serve ice cream in 1938 in Joliet, Illinois. When they tested it at a friend's shop, they sold 1,600 servings in 2 hours. The first official Dairy Queen opened in 1940. Here's what makes DQ different. They never moved away from the soft-serve machine. When every competitor was adding scooped flavors and frozen tubs, Dairy Queen kept the soft serve as the identity. That refusal to change is why you still recognize the swirl on top of a DQ cone from 100 meters away. Today, Dairy Queen has over 7,000 locations in 20 countries. It's owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. Yes, the world's most famous investor owns America's ice cream chain. And the Blizzard, launched in 1985, is still the most ordered item on the entire menu 40 years later. Named after founder Dave Thomas's daughter, Melinda Lou Wendy Thomas, Wendy's opened in 1969 in Columbus, Ohio. She couldn't pronounce her own name properly as a toddler. Her family called her Wendy. Her dad liked the nickname so much, he named his entire restaurant chain after it. Dave's two obsessions were fresh beef, never frozen, and square burger patties. The square shape wasn't just aesthetic. He said it meant the meat hung over the edge of a round bun so customers could see what they were getting. "We don't cut corners" was both literal and figurative. In 2017, a Twitter user asked Wendy's where they got their beef. Wendy's replied, "Fresh, never frozen, unlike your heart." That single tweet went viral and turned Wendy's social media into a full entertainment brand. Their Twitter account now has millions of followers who follow it purely for the content, not the food. Today, more than 7,000 locations around the world serve the same square-shaped burgers, fries, baked potatoes, and Frosties. The real Wendy Thomas is now in her 60s and still appears in their marketing.
Burt Baskin and Irv Robbins were brothers-in-law who wanted to open an ice cream shop where families could gather. They originally opened separate stores, refused to merge for years, then finally did. Their combined flavor count hit exactly 31, one flavor for every day of the month. They turned that coincidence into their entire brand identity. Today, there are nearly 8,000 locations globally, and Baskin-Robbins is part of Inspire Brands, which also owns Dunkin. They have created over 1,400 flavors since 1945, but only ever serve 31 at a time. And the number 31 is hidden in their logo. Look at the pink part of the B and R next time. It spells 31. It's been there the whole time.
The entire Krispy Kreme empire was built on a recipe that Vernon Rudolph bought from a New Orleans chef. Not a family recipe, not something he invented, a recipe from a chef he met once. He rented a building in Winston-Salem in 1937 and started selling to grocery stores. Neighbors kept smelling the donuts from the street and knocking on the wall asking to buy them. He cut a hole in the wall. That became the first Krispy Kreme walk-up window. The Hot Now sign is the single most genius marketing decision in fast food history. When donuts come fresh off the conveyor belt, the red Hot Now sign lights up outside. No app, no coupon, just a red sign that means the donuts are warm right now. Come immediately. Krispy Kreme invented hyper-local real-time marketing in 1937 using a light bulb. The secret to Krispy Kreme's fluffy donuts lies in a recipe that Vernon Rudolph bought from that New Orleans chef. Since then, the wafting scent of Krispy Kreme's addictive donuts has tempted customers around the globe. That recipe has never been publicly revealed. Vernon never sold it. It remains one of America's best-kept food secrets.
Cinnabon didn't just open a bakery. They engineered a smell. Every single Cinnabon location is deliberately placed near the center of a shopping mall, never near an exit, never near a food court. Specifically in the middle,
near walkways. Because the cinnamon smell carries further from the center and reaches more shoppers. The entire business model is built around your nose. Cinnabon's mission was to create the world's greatest cinnamon roll, and the shop started in Seattle in 1985. They sourced a specific cinnamon called Makara from the Corinthi region of Indonesia, and have used that specific cinnamon from that specific region ever since. No substitutes. Cinnabon has an internal rule. Ovens stay open as much as possible, and baking happens continuously, so the smell never stops. Every operational decision, from oven temperature to store placement, is engineered to maximize how far and how long the smell travels. It is not a cinnamon roll company. It is a smell delivery system that also sells cinnamon rolls. Cinnabon has grown to over 1,800 locations around the world. Most are in airports and malls. The brand embraced its Breaking Bad cameo completely and made merchandise around it.
Tom Monahan bought his first pizza shop for $500. He had no money, no experience, and no real plan. He just needed a job. That $500 shop eventually became 20,000 locations in 90 countries. And the single decision that drove almost all of it was a promise he made in 1973. 30 minutes or it's free. In 1965, Tom bought 2 more pizzerias, eventually changing the name to Domino's. Domino's opened up its first franchise in 1967 and had 200 locations by the next year. The 3 dots on the Domino's logo represent the first 3 stores. He planned to add a dot for every new store. He gave up on that idea after store 4. The 30 minutes or free guarantee was eventually canceled in 1993 because delivery drivers were having accidents trying to make the deadline. The promise made Domino's synonymous with fast delivery. The cancellation barely affected them. They built the identity around speed and then removed the speed promise and kept the identity anyway. Today, Domino's is the largest pizza company in the world by global retail sales. Tom Monahan, the man who bought his first shop for $500, sold Domino's in 1998 for $1 billion.
Pizza Hut was started by 2 college students who borrowed $600 from their mother. Dan and Frank Carney were 19 and 25 years old. They had never run a restaurant. They rented a tiny building that had space for exactly 8 letters on the sign. Pizza Hut fit perfectly. That is genuinely why it is called Pizza Hut. Within 1 year, they had 6 locations. Within 5 years, they had 300. The distinctive red roof design, created by architect George Lindstrom in 1963, became one of the most recognizable building shapes in American history. You could identify a Pizza Hut from the highway before you could read the sign. In 2001, Pizza Hut paid to have their logo placed on a Russian Proton rocket and delivered a pizza to the International Space Station for Russian cosmonaut Yuri Usachov, the first pizza delivery in space in history. It cost $1 million. The cosmonaut said it tasted good. Pizza Hut is just one of Yum Brand's global companies, with KFC and Taco Bell right by its side. The stuffed crust pizza, invented by Pizza Hut in 1995, changed the entire pizza industry. Before Pizza Hut, nobody had ever put cheese inside the crust. Now, everyone does.
Despite its name, Texas Roadhouse is a Western-themed steak joint that's headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky, and has its origins in Clarksville, Indiana, opened by Wayne Kent Taylor in 1993. Not from Texas, never was. The word Texas is entirely in the name for the brand feeling. It worked so well that Texas Roadhouse now has hundreds of locations in actual Texas. Kent Taylor died in 2021. Before he died, he gave up his entire $1 million annual salary during the COVID-19 pandemic and redirected it entirely to hourly restaurant workers who were struggling. He had done the same thing during the 2008 financial crisis. Texas Roadhouse is one of the only major U.S. restaurant chains where the founder's personal values are still visibly baked into the company culture. Literally, They still bake fresh bread every 15 minutes at every location as his standard. Texas Roadhouse now has more than 750 locations around the world. The free bread and cinnamon butter served at every table before the meal, a signature since day one, is now one of the most copied moves in casual dining.
For 69 years, this brand was called Dunkin' Donuts. Then, in 2019, they dropped the word donuts from their own name. Not because they stopped selling donuts. They still sell millions every day. The company dropped the word because they wanted to position themselves as a beverage-led company. That one-word change was one of the most strategically bold rebrands in fast food history. It was founded by Bill Rosenberg in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1950. He had been running food carts at construction sites and noticed that coffee and donuts made up 40% of his revenue. He franchised the concept in 1955, making Dunkin' one of the earliest fast food franchise models in America. Dunkin' is the coffee of the working class. Starbucks built a brand around premium experience. Comfortable sofas, Italian-sized names, $7 drinks. Dunkin' built a brand around speed and value. Their tagline, "America runs on Dunkin'," was speaking to the people who had no time to sit in a Starbucks. That positioning is why Dunkin' has dominated the East Coast, while Starbucks dominates everywhere else. Inspire Brands bought Dunkin' Brands for $11.3 billion in 2020, one of the most expensive fast food acquisitions in history. 10 brands, every single one started by one person with an idea and no guarantee it would work. Cinnabon engineered a smell. Krispy Kreme built an empire on a recipe from a stranger. Pizza Hut named itself based on how many letters fit on a sign. Texas Roadhouse is not from Texas. And Dunkin' dropped its own name after 69 years and kept every customer. The best brands don't just sell food, they sell a feeling. Drop a comment. Which brand story surprised you most? Subscribe. We're just getting started.